Tale of Love. Love is not grown in gardens. Love is not sold in the market. He who wants it, king or commoner, gives his head and takes it. Kabir says, clouds of love came to me showering, soaked the heart, greening the inner jungle. Tale of love, untellable, not a bit ever told. The sweets of a dumb one he enjoys and smiles. Kabir is, of course, not speaking of worldly love, but of the divine love, something we feel, cannot describe, cannot explain, cannot tell about. We are the love dogs of heaven. We whine and miss and yearn for. That state in which only love exists. So now, in this very sacred place, Ananda Ashram, where there is this great power of unconditional love, this sense of unconditional love surrounding us and penetrating us. Let us not miss this opportunity to be aware of it, although we cannot speak of it. Feel it directly through meditation. Seconds, an image of that person whom you wish to help, and Guruji said they will feel as if they're surrounded by an energy field of protection and well-being. That's the way to do it. So my list is very long of people for whom I'm to whom I'm sending radio waves of just care and love. I want to greet all of you tonight. Apparently there is a yoga group. Is the leader here? I hear his name is John. That rumor is going around that the leader's name is John. Is John here, or he just sent his students? Where are John's students? Raise your hand. Oh, he's playing hooky. Where's John? Okay. We'll wait. Let me know when he comes, all right? I haven't met him. So we'll see. He'll probably come a little later. Thank you, Nasheed. We have Prasad. You may have picked up from the poem of Kabir's that I read for the meditation, as part of the meditation, that he was speaking about probably that which is for each of us our most profound experience in life, when we're in touch with something divine, when time stands still and you find that within that short period of time, some kind of transformation took place. Some things get washed away and you feel renewed and you feel as though some grace has descended on you. And I know it's a fact because throughout all the years we were with Sri Brahmananda in his physical form, he would say, as you will hear soon in a reading, that you wouldn't be here unless you had such a magical moment in your life. And it was so extraordinary you couldn't talk about it. Even when you tried to talk about it, you found yourself stammering, and you usually don't stammer. I have never been able to talk about the 2 or 3 most profound moments in my life. And he told us that if we want to keep that special uniqueness, that special fragrance of something beyond ourselves happening, we shouldn't talk about it. We shouldn't even try to share that with anyone. It's not possible. It's a tale untellable. That's what Kabir was saying. So what happened is that when I came across that poem, I said, oh, this is nice, and I like the commentary. And I said, well, now I'll look for something from Sri Brahmananda, which I do every Saturday. I look for a very powerful excerpt from his teachings. And I found he was talking about what you can't talk about. And you will hear it right in his own words, the same theme. And then I received an email asking a question, which I'm going to read now, about what is our natural state? What is our real, true state? And she went on to describe what she thought was her state and what she thought was opposite to that state that she experienced during the silent retreat this past weekend. Now, I have to tell you that this was the first email I received with a little bit of a complaint about her meditation, which she found was not as powerful, not as filled with divine light as others she had had. And so she asked me a question about it. And I found myself responding to her question in the same way that Kabir responded when he was asked about that tale that was untellable. You listen. As always happens with me, the 3 readings, including Kabir's poem, came together as one theme. And it's a theme about the difficulty we have when we're pulled between 2 worlds. Our relative life, because that's also beautiful at times, also difficult at times. And while we're pulled down to the relative plane where our attachments and pleasures are, and it's natural for every one of us here that we're tantalized by the things of the world that still fascinate us, the people in the world that still fascinate us. At the very same time, there's an innate pulling us to a different dimension, beyond the body, beyond memory, beyond our senses. And Guruji said often to us with a laugh, because we always took him very seriously, he said, you're all living in a schizophrenic world because you have 2 worlds and you like them both. And it's a tug of war. You go up, you come down, you go up, you come down. And sometimes you're polarized in the middle. And then you don't know what to do, so you stay in bed. You don't come out. You don't know where to go, what world. So this is the question. It came in just recently. She says about what happened the Sunday morning of the retreat. And before that she had said, to explain, she wasn't feeling very well. During the weekend she had some complications with sinuses, etc. But she says, by Sunday morning I was feeling very, very empty, void of personality. It was a small, sort of invisible energy just being. It didn't have the vast, expansive light feeling I get when meditating and feel that I am in my natural state. Which is the real natural state? For me it was a bit sad and distant energy on that Sunday morning. Now you could pretend she was asking you, as if she were your friend, asking you, after she explained what she was feeling that seemed so different from her natural state, which is the feeling of vast, expansive light, how would you answer her? Don't tell me, because you'll have different answers, and I want to tell you what I transmitted for Sri Brahmananda, because he wasn't here to answer, but it was a Vedantic response, and see how you respond to that. See if it feels right to you, because it just came. I just wrote it and sent it out. Problem is I haven't heard back from her, so I don't know if it helped or it didn't. But she asked, which is the real natural state? To me, I was feeling a bit sad and a distant energy that Sunday morning during the meditation period. And I answered, according to what I have heard from Sri Brahmananda and all the Vedantic masters, neither state that you describe would be considered your natural state. Our natural state is one in which we're not aware of being aware. The state of effortless awareness. As soon as we're feeling expansive, light, empty, devoid of personality, all the labels she gave, as soon as we're feeling expansive, light, empty, devoid of personality, it indicates that there is a separate I judging how we feel. In other words, a state of duality. The I who is observing the feeling. Whereas our natural state is a state of oneness, a non-dual state, in which comparisons, judgments, opinions, expectations have all disappeared. Remaining as the witnessing I, which is the non-judgmental state, will allow you to be in your natural state of oneness, effortlessly and spontaneously. After I replied to her, I reread it and I said, well, I don't know. They're high words. I hope I was a proper radio to respond. And then when I found Sri Brahmananda's excerpt for today, he was assuring me this was the right response. You listen to his. How many of you understood that state that was being described, where you're not labeling, you're not judging, you're not feeling separate from the state itself? Did you understand that, Rajan? Good. Because if you have any I won't say experience, but if any of you have been meditating and witnessing for a long time, you know what's being said there, although you can't add anything to it. But it has the ring of truth. And listen now to what Sri Brahmananda says. In different words, but exactly the same meaning. His statement, and I wasn't looking for anything that was on the same topic, as always happens with me and with you, they just came together, almost magically. This is what Gurji says. The truth is that ultimate reality, or our natural state, the truth is that ultimate reality is beyond all names and beyond all language. This is from his essay, The Universe of Being and Becoming. The truth is that ultimate reality is beyond all names, all labeling. It is beyond all language. It is a common experience that the principle of I am always remains unknown. Here the young woman was asking me, what is the natural state? And I answered, neither what you experience positively or negatively. It's beyond the known. You cannot perceive it. You cannot translate it by any means, meaning you cannot interpret it. You cannot describe it. You cannot perceive the sun by any light other than its own light, that is, the sunlight. In the same way, you cannot perceive that sense, that absolute I am, that feeling of absolute I am, without being it. In the same way as you cannot perceive the sun by any light other than its own light, that is, the sunlight itself, in the same way, you cannot perceive the absolute I am without being it. You cannot say, you can say by the method of rejection, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this body and mind. You can say that, but Gurdjieff adds with a smile, but don't worry, you are that. Tattvam asi. That means thou art that. We can say, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not these senses, I'm not involved in time and space. And Gurdjieff is saying, don't worry about all this rejection, because in the end, don't worry, you can say, I am that. Tattvam asi, thou art that. By knowing what you are not, you will come to know the real form of I am, or what the woman was asking, your natural state, your real life, your real state. By knowing what you are not, you will come to know the real form of I am. This way, you will enjoy the blessings of being and becoming. So you'll not only enjoy the grace of beingness, but you'll enjoy all the changes that take place in the world of multiplicity. Right now we can't enjoy the world of multiplicity because we're busy labeling different things as suffering, as blessings, of good, of bad, of pure, of sinful. We're busy labeling, and we're caught, as she was, in this state of confusion. And as long as we're labeling, as long as we're creating two-ness, a world of duality, we can't really enjoy the world. because we're too much enmeshed in it. The gurus have the best enjoyment of the world. Even tragedies they see as part of the total cycle of birth and death. And they know that anything that changes is unreal. But they know that because they are that. They are the unchanging principle that happens when we're no longer creating a world separate from what we are. So Gurdjieff says, this way, by knowing what you are not, you will come to know the real form of I am. And in this way, you will enjoy the blessings of not only being the absolute I am, but seeing its world that has been created, the world of multiplicity. We will enjoy oneness, and we will also enjoy the dualism. At the same time, you are beyond every being and becoming. Any sense of beingness, any feeling that you have, that you're one with the entire world, that's still your own individual feeling, your own it's higher. You don't feel a separation. But, he says, at the same time, what you actually are is beyond every sense of being, every sense of becoming, because what you truly are is absolute beingness. You are never born, and you never die. If we could get that, not just up here, and we saying, that's great. That's great, then that should get rid of all the fears that I have and people have. But you have to know that in the marrow of your bones. If you know that, then you know there's nothing in this world, including death, to be afraid of. It's the death of the body only, and you are not that. What we are is absolute beingness, absolute, effortless, pure consciousness, awareness. Then what is worrying? So you're getting it now, and this is a wonderful place, this Ananda Ashram. It just took away the fears I was having about losing this person or getting older and perhaps, getting closer to my... It just vanished. But then tomorrow, you say, I don't know this guru. She trusts this guru. I don't know if he's right. No, I better see a doctor right away. Someone told me that her mother just celebrated her 106th birthday. And she said, I can truthfully tell you, I don't care if the end is tomorrow. But will you do one thing before you leave today? Will you make a dental appointment for me? For a cleaning? So my friend who comes to program said, so what was she talking about? I said, wait. Wait till she's a little closer, and then you'll hear how much of that intellectual understanding has penetrated. So at 106, you don't make dental appointments for cleanings. They hurt. That would be the last thing I would do at 106, is make a dental appointment. Right, Surat? Only if I were in terrible pain would I do it. But if we all could grasp that reality has to be that which does not change, and that is the witnessing state, and that is the state that is beyond time and space. That state we can sense only in deep, dreamless sleep. That state when time disappears and all of our imaginary fears and projections disappear. And we're left with just joy and a sense of incredible energy and power and control and love. The Gurji ends this way. You are never born and you will never die. And you never become this or that. It is the mind and body alone which are passing through being and becoming from moment to moment. By realizing this fact, you become absolutely free from that cycle of birth and death, and you become the absolute I am. Now that doesn't mean that we're not born again once we realize that. No, there may be some attachments, some desires unfulfilled that pull us back. But the difference is, with that new understanding, that it's only the body that has karma, that evolves, that grows old, ages, gets sick, and dies. It's only the body. We come to recognize, especially in meditation, that there is something sitting apart from the body, mind, and senses, watching them. Now you know that that's true. How many of you ever had the experience in meditation that there is some separate entity observing if there are many thoughts, or observing if the body is restless, observing your body breathing? Raise your hand. Encourage the reader here. I'm just the reader. I'm just the messenger. Bring you the message of the great masters. But they always wanted for you to understand that's your own direct experience. You don't have to believe this on blind faith. He didn't want it, and most of the authentic gurus did not want us to just accept blindly whatever they're telling us. They always wanted us to corroborate what they were saying with our own direct experience. That's why we had difficulty leaving this guru, because he wanted us independent. He wanted us to be able to stand on our own feet. Then when we started having our own direct contact with what they were saying, then that built up a little more trust to go into deeper waters. Once we found we could swim a little bit in 3 feet of water, then they said, you can use the same motions, go in deeper water. Go deeper in meditation. Let go of time and space. Let go of personality. Let go of memory. Dive into the unknown. Well, after a few experiments where we had found they were really right, we did go a little deeper, and then had deeper and deeper experiences. So, any questions about this? See, even something like this, I just read and commented only a little to explain what we began to understand as 10 years, 20 years, 30 years went by. I thought I would comment in case this is your one and only time, sometimes it happens, that you're exposed to this kind of statement. But otherwise, I touch very lightly. I never bring my own interpretation or understanding. I just bring what he and the other great masters have said about the importance of not identifying with the body, the mind, and the senses. Use them, but use them in the same way as you use a car to take you places. That's the way. Not to identify with them to such an extent that when the car is out of order, and that car's becoming rusty, we get into bed because we think we're becoming rusty and losing our tailpipe. I don't know. I'm feeling everybody in the ashram who lives in the ashram or lives around the ashram or has been involved in the ashram has been feeling very giddy these days. And it's because we are so excited about that new wing going up. It's been a long time since we built something that is so remarkable, and we're extending the Cosmic Temple so that crowds of 60 people can sit there comfortably meditating. We're just ecstatic about what's happening. So soon, I think, Krishna Devi, about 2-3 weeks, they're expecting to be through? Yeah? So in 2-3 weeks, you'll be able to go up until July 4th. We're going to have a dedication ceremony. Please do come and celebrate July 4th. That's our anniversary. We opened 1964 on July 4th, Independence Day. So every year we celebrate, and this year is a very special celebration where we're dedicating the Cosmic Temple extension and the new wing. That's extraordinary. So does anyone have any question about this? Yes?
John is here.
John is here. Where's John? This is John? No, we have 3 Johns here now. John Sikora, John Surratt, and you are John? John?
John.
I'm
John Clavia John.
Okay, you know what happened? Because you weren't on time, we made a big fuss about you. And
I'm glad I wasn't here for it.
Well, no, if you hadn't shown up, you would have been such hot water with your students. Because it would seem like you were just getting rid of them and going off by yourself. Very pleased that you came with these lovely people.
Oh, it's a joy to be here, to introduce some of my favorite people to another group of my favorite people in my favorite place.
John's happy.
It's very, very, very happy.
And we're happy that you're here. It's not your first time. You've been here before.
Oh, many years I've been coming now.
Many years.
First time we've
That you brought a group?
yeah,
Lovely. Very nice. They're lovely people.
and
IYI? You're from IYI?
I'm sorry.
Are you from Integral Yoga Institute?
No.
This is one of your not-so-favorite people, Dharmadev. Where are you from, actually? Are you from another group or what?
Mainly based in Concord, Mass.
Concord, Mass.
Independent yogis seeking our way.
Oh, we love those. I just talked about independent
We've
yogis.
all studied with many, many lineages.
Fantastic.
We're very much connected with Jiva Mukti.
Okay.
David and Sharon, dear friends.
Dear friends of ours.
The Jiva Mukti presence here is just amazing.
Sharda, and do you know one another? One of our great Jiva Mukti yoga teachers.
Dinner,
Yes, very nice. Okay, lovely. So now we're going beyond time and space and name and form into the world of Kabir.
And
And
be back. Thanks for having us.
oh, we want you back. That I would have announced at the end.
We're not leaving yet.
No, don't leave yet.
We're not leaving.
No, they seem very interested, John, in these teachings.
You
So,
can see the moving trucks all full up.
what's the name of your yoga group?
We don't have a name.
No name.
Yoga with John.
Yoga with John.
John, it's as good as it gets. So, yeah.
I won't comment on that. That's just perfect. Yoga with John. Okay.
You make it very clear that they're not my students, but I'm their teacher. So they don't belong to me, I belong to them. So we really see it that way, where I come from.
And that is Yoga with John. That's what makes it Yoga with John, what you just said. They love you, I can tell. Okay, now that I said they love you, I'm reading that poem which you didn't hear, John, so I'll read it just for you. It's Kabir's poem called Tale of Love Untellable. Tale of Love Untellable. Love is not grown in gardens, and this is talking about divine love. Love is not grown in gardens. Love is not sold in the marketplace. He who wants it, really wants truth, wants that state of love, whether king or commoner, gives his head and takes it. Kabir says, clouds of love came on me showering, soaked the heart, greening the inner jungle. Tale of love untellable, not a bit's ever told. The sweets of a dumb one he enjoys and smiles. The dumb one being he, she who cannot speak. Tale of love untellable, not a bit's ever told. The sweets of a dumb one he enjoys and smiles. Now, this is from a book, a very precious book, I feel, called The Great Secret, and they are commentaries on Kabir's poetry. And they are the commentaries of Rajneesh. I say it in a low voice because he was a bit of a wild type of master. And there are some of his commentaries that I have to edit very carefully because they can be offensive. But not in this book. This book is very special. I didn't have to edit it at all. And the things he has to say, I think, can be transformative for each one of us here, including myself. I never bring in a reading unless I feel it has, just by reading it silently or aloud sometimes, I feel a sudden change in me, a new way of looking at things, or a casting away of the old conditioned me. So this is what moved me, and I think will move you. He says, I look at you, he says to his group of people. Rajneesh never wrote anything. He would write letters or a few notes in a journal, but every one of his books are transcriptions of his talks, his spontaneous talks. Our Guru thought his teachings were extraordinary. We read from him a lot. He says, I look at you, and just as if I could say to you, and I'm convinced of one thing, that you all once had something, some treasure, some symmetry, some secret, some key, but you've lost it. Every moment, asleep or awake, you're always busy looking for something, what Sri Brahmananda called our missing syndrome. Our missing syndrome. No matter how happy we are in the moment, a moment later we're feeling we're missing something. We're missing, why can't I feel this good all the time? So you just missed continuing the good feeling. Every moment, asleep or awake, you're always busy looking for something. It's quite possible you don't know exactly what you're searching for, and that you're unaware of what you have lost. But I see the hunger in your eyes. It's apparent in every beat of your heart. This quest has been going on for countless lives. Sometimes you call it the search for truth, but you have never known truth, so how can you lose it? And sometimes you call it the search for God, but your meeting with God has never taken place, so how can you be separated from Him? You go in search to the temples, to the mosques, to Kashi or to Mecca. You knock on every door you come across in the hope you will find what you have lost. But as long as you do not know exactly what it is you have lost, your search cannot be fulfilled. Your own experience will tell you the same thing. You have knocked on many doors, but you have always returned empty-handed. The doors are not to be blamed for this. We have direct experience here with this opening introduction. Having been here at this ashram, some of us for us it's 48 years, thousands of people have come through the doors, and many, many, many of them came back to report after having a fascinating trip to India that they didn't quite come back with what they hoped they'd find in India. They came back with still something missing. And as time went by, their memories of their magical moments in India began to fade, because they were going there for something that would dramatically change their lives and cause them never to have to suffer again. They were hoping for that. So this is what's being said here. We go to the temples, to the mosque, to Kashi, to India, to Mecca. We knock on every door, and we come back always empty-handed. And he says the doors are not to be blamed for this. Before you set out in search, you should know what it is you're looking for, what it is you have lost. If an illness is incorrectly diagnosed, how can you know the right medicine to take? Even if a doctor is here, what good will he do with an incorrect diagnosis? Nanak, one of the great seekers and great masters, fell ill. The illness was the same as yours, and the people in his house sent for a physician. Whenever someone is ill, we automatically send for a doctor. We don't understand that there are some diseases that have nothing whatsoever to do with doctors. In any case, the physician came, he took hold of Nanak's wrist and started to take his pulse. Nanak began to laugh. You won't find any illness there. You'll discover nothing by taking my pulse. This illness is of the heart. This illness is of the heart. The doctor had no idea what Nanak was talking about. You see, doctors have their own worlds, and they diagnose illnesses by taking one's pulse. Nanak needed a master. He needed a spiritual physician, not a medical doctor. What's interesting is Sri Brahmananda was a medical doctor. He was a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon. And later, when I met him, he was studying ophthalmology, correcting diseases of the eyes for people who were near blind, let's say. If I were having a dream and my guru turned out to be a brain surgeon and an eye surgeon, I would find that very interesting, wouldn't you? Well, I did after I began to imagine what the significance of that could have been for me. The master is always a physician, but not of the body, of the heart. And the master's first task is to make it clear to you what it is you are seeking. Then the search becomes very easy. When the diagnosis is correct, it's not too difficult to find the proper medicine. Diagnosis is half the cure. But if the diagnosis is incorrect, then even vast quantities of medicine will be of no use to you whatsoever. What generally happens is that you become enamored of words. You begin to think, ah, yes, this is what I have lost. It's God I have lost. It's freedom I have lost. Like the young woman who wrote that my meditation was lost this silent retreat. My meditation has been vast. It's been a feeling of energy, of power, of love. But I lost it when it became devoid of everything and just empty. It could be the empty feeling was closer to the natural state than that other feeling where she was imagining that love was all around her. We often have in our minds first what love is. And then when we come across it, we check it off. I was right. I was right all along. Listen carefully to this, because every reading that you will hear at this ashram will, according to Sri Brahmananda, be particularly life-transforming for each one of you and for me. So don't miss. Don't let your mind wander away. Pay attention to the words. You begin to think it's God I have lost. It's freedom I have lost. So then you set out on your search, and it's wrong from the very beginning. As I talk to you, I look into your hearts, and I see that the throne within you is unoccupied. Isn't that nice? I see that the throne within you is unoccupied. The throne is there, and someone must have sat on it at one time or another, but at present he or she is away. He's wandering somewhere else. Your heart is that throne. The king, love itself, has left it behind and has gone roaming in some far-off place. Your heart is that throne. But the king, love itself, has left that throne behind and has gone roaming in some far-off place. Every week I put on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. The ashram does, and I do. But every week I put on a quotation of Gurji, and I'll probably put Kabir this time also. But this past week's quotation was Gurji's words, "You would call a man a fool if you found him looking for something he had lost in his house. You found him looking for it on the road. You'd call him a fool." But yet, we're looking in temples and mosques in India and different places for what we have lost in our own minds. Our minds have lost their clarity and their peacefulness and their unconditional love. And instead of looking there, we're looking outside. Just what is being said here. I didn't know where the quotation came from. I knew it came from Atma Bodha, but I didn't know the connection it was going to have with the next week's quotation. That they will all come together. And if you're not friends of the ashram page and of readings from the masters, that's the other page, please do if you want to see the quotations. People are gathering them together. But it was fascinating because it was the same theme last week that we were reading on a Saturday night, and we're continuing tonight with it. The search for love is possible. Every child is born with love. Before you can search for something, you have to lose it. And although every child is born with love, it does get lost along the way, somewhere in the course of his upbringing. Education, society, and culture play important roles in this process. And because of this lost love, a sort of vacuum, a sort of vacancy, a sort of emptiness is created within you. Remember the email said she was feeling only emptiness, only space, not the fullness of love. Because of this lost love, a sort of vacuum, a sort of vacancy, a sort of emptiness is created within you. You are in search of that love. You're not in search of God. You may think you're in search of God or freedom. No. You're in search of love, that unconditional divine love. We knew it once as a child. You look in a newborn and say, eyes, what do you see? Do you see anything other than God in a newborn's eyes? That light, they can't see you, but you can see them. They're very close to that which we begin to lose along the way. Sometimes if you're given the privilege, look into the eyes of a newborn. It's a privilege. Makes you cry. You are in search of that love. You're not really in search of God. You've never met God. But if you regain love, then you are standing at his door. You have never known God. He's unknown to you. You cannot search for him. To search for someone, there must be some kind of relationship, some kind of acquaintance, and you have no such familiarity with God. Now, truth surrounds you. It's all around you. How will you find it? Truth is there already. The basic problem is that you have no vision. The sun is always shining, but you are blind. What should a blind man seek? The sun or sight? If you have no sight, even if the sun is sitting next to you, what will you do? You will not be able to see it. You will remain in darkness. So sight is needed. And what is that sight? By now you should know that word. Who will tell? What do you need in order to see? The topic tonight is love. Love. You will not be able to see it. You will remain in darkness. Sight is needed, and that sight is love. God is ever present. He is all around you. But you have lost your vision. You've lost the means of experiencing him. Now, when Vedantists and yogins speak of God, they're not talking about a God in heaven far away. They're talking about the godliness, the state of godliness that exists in each one of us, that we have lost, missing. You will not be able to see it. That sight is love. God is ever present. You have lost the means of experiencing God. Love is the ability to experience. Love is sensitivity. Love is the experience in which all your impurities are washed away. And you throw open all your doors, all your gates. Then whosoever stands at your door is no longer an enemy or a friend, but a beloved. And so you open your door to that beloved. When you begin to feel the whole world is yours, just what Gurdjieff said in his statement, when you begin to feel that the whole world is yours, when you begin to see the beloved in whosoever comes to your door, when you no longer see strangers or enemies, when you begin to see only friends everywhere, when this phenomenon takes place in you, know that you have found love. And for the man or woman who has found love, what else remains to be found? The man who has found love has found the key to the door of godliness. Now, I kept thinking, I haven't brought it out until this minute, but in one of Gurdjieff's meditations, there's an album of CDs called The Blue Sky Meditations. In one of them, I haven't listened to them in a long time, but in one of them, it may be the Blue Sky Meditation, he says, once you have felt the embrace, the kiss of God, you are never lonely again. And loneliness is our only problem. That's what he says in this. That kiss of God is that being in the state of oneness with God. I and my Father are that. I and my Father are one. I am that. Thou art that. That's the state in which once you have that fragrance, that taste, you're never afraid again. You're never lonely again. How do I know? He said so. In a state of meditation. And so we began to check for that feeling when we came out of meditation. We weren't missing anyone. We were complete in that moment. So that's where we have to be moving. That's where we have to be going. Back to our original heart. Now understand, says Osho, the significance of love carefully. Nothing is greater than love. Not even God. God is achieved through love. But love is not achieved through God. The presence of God does not guarantee love. But the presence of love will surely bring him to you. As Jesus himself said, love is God. His words. The basic question, this is here. Now, I didn't say that. It's right here in the paper. The basic question, the fundamental problem, is our seeking love. So let us clarify at the outset how love has been lost, because the way to regain it will only be clear when we know and understand how it has been lost in the first place. If any one of us is sitting here, I'm married a long time to a wonderful man, and some of you have been married, and some of you never been married. But I don't care if you've been married happily in a wonderful relationship, or never been married, always lived alone. There is, as this master is telling us, always something missing. A love on the earthly plane can never be unconditional. It's against the human ego. If I have 10 years of living with Marv, and I tell him every day, I don't love you, these are all the things wrong with you, it will be very difficult for him to love me unconditionally. It will be very difficult for him to stay with me if I were to carry on like that. But if you're with a guru, and you ultimately end by having doubts about him, suspicions about him, you have angry words with him, and again, another lifetime, you leave in anger. Many of, well, I won't say us, but many of the disciples, even the founders, some of the original founders, had angry words and stormed away from the ashram. Guru leave them? Never. They come back after 15 years. He doesn't even remember why they left. Hello, where have you been? He doesn't know. because he didn't think about it after that. The gurus never abandon us. If you're here in this ashram tonight, it's because you've had a guru in a different form perhaps, but you have been with a guru, because this is a magnetic attraction back to your original home through these teachings. Not these buildings, they're just the outer, but this atmosphere. This is your temple, this space. This is where you feel most alive. So many people come here and they're laughing and crying because they're so glad to be home. And they didn't even know they had this home. It's the home of those teachings that will bring you to your permanent home. So take a deep breath. And now as you breathe out, release all the language, all the words. This will only be 60 seconds. So feel yourself letting go and opening up to this now. Feeling it, perceiving it, imbibing it. Sometimes it only takes 1 minute to reconnect with your real life, your real home. I am that I am. That is our home. Krishna Devi, would you lead us in our traditional prayer? Thank you, Krishna Devi. And if some of you are feeling very high, that you may need a designated driver, take 2 cookies. Chocolate chip is a great way to come back to earth.